Hello, everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about the expectations that we have for different groups in today's society. Now, the discussion regarding expectations society places on women and how it affects them has been done thousands of times before, and probably better than I ever could. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the lesser talked about side of the issue, the gender expectations placed on men. Before I begin, I'd like to preface this by saying that all empirically verifiable claims in this video are derived from this paper on masculinity and mental health, and the sources they provide. It will be linked in the description. Men face some serious problems in today's day and age. The global suicide rate of men is just over twice that of women, but in places like the US, for example, it's 4 times as high. In Sweden, it's just below 3 times as high. It's the leading cause of death for men under 45 years of age. The majority of victims and perpetrators of physical violence are men. The majority of substance abusers are men. Men are less inclined to seek help or care than women are. Almost twice as many women than men are receiving some form of treatment for mental health issues. However, it has been found that this does not actually reflect any difference between men and women in mental health. These are just some aspects in which men have it worse than women. Now, I'm not saying that men are overall more oppressed and disenfranchised in society. All I'm saying is when it comes down to mental health, men are. Now, why is this? Well, when it comes down to how women and men are expected to deal with sadness and trauma, men get the short end of the stick. What expectations do we have for different gender groups in society? Well, we have different character traits that are expected of you depending on how you are born. When you're born, you'll be born male, female, or intersex. If you're born male, you're expected by society to act masculine. If you're born female, you're expected to act feminine. Intersex is a little more complicated, but depending on where on the intersex spectrum you are, you'll probably be expected to act masculine or feminine nevertheless, as people today tend to freak out when we encounter things that don't fit neatly into their little binaries. Masculinity and femininity are the two main gender roles of today's day and age. Anyways, something that is important to understand is that these gender roles, masculinity and femininity, are completely arbitrary, and what constitutes masculinity and femininity varies greatly depending on time and geographic location. For example, in ancient Greece, it was considered masculine to cry in public, even in highly formal settings. Today, that is far from the case. Today, masculinity means to be strong, performance oriented, self controlled, independent, whatever that means. What it means to be feminine in today's society is to be weak, relationship oriented, emotional, and dependent. However, we have made more strides in society to curb feminine gender expectations, so this is less true for women than it is for men. How does this affect the behavior of men? Well, to start off, the way we expect men and women to deal with their problems are vastly different. It is common for women to be able to talk about their problems and form support groups with their friends. This is an effective way of dealing with problems because you get emotional support and advice. However, for men, the situation is far different. Men are not by any means encouraged or even supposed to express their emotions. In fact, attempts to do the exact same thing as women do will often result in being made fun of or even bullied by men and women alike. You're told to stop being a crybaby and to man up. You're a man. You're supposed to be able to handle this. So, talking about your problems is off the table. What about when you have to express negative emotions as a result of the problems you're not allowed to talk about? Surely then people will understand that it needs to be taken seriously. Well, again, no. If a woman cries in public or in front of her friends, people will often approach her and ask her what's wrong. And even if they don't, people will usually feel bad for her. Now, if a guy cries in public or in front of his friends, it's handled completely differently. It will make people uncomfortable. There is no guarantee that anyone will approach you and attempt to help you. In fact, chances are you will be made fun of. So, in what ways does this affect men? Well, this leads to men forcing themselves to suppress their emotions and not talk about their problems. So, they have to turn to other methods of coping, which include things like cutting themselves off from social spheres, abusing alcohol, drugs, or turning to gambling and crime. And even if they do go to mental health professionals, which, keep in mind, they are discouraged from doing since it involves discussing feelings and problems, chances are they might not even get diagnosed appropriately. As a result of this emotional suppression and lack of communication regarding their problems, men tend to severely downplay the elements of their mental health, and therefore are unable to vocalize the warning signs necessary for an adequate diagnosis. And what's more, even if you manage to vocalize them in a way that should be adequate, many of the diagnosis protocols are heavily influenced by how women experience depression, since they tend to seek help more often, and the protocol might therefore not be able to accurately diagnose depression in men. So, how do we solve this? Well, the best solution is to stop holding people to these harmful and often arbitrary gender roles. Gender roles don't give us anything. However, there are multiple ways in which they harm us. Abolish gender roles. Let people express themselves how they want. Be understanding and compassionate. If you're a guy, don't be afraid of talking about your problems with your friends. If they make fun of you, they are in the wrong. Find some new friends who aren't. Don't be afraid of going to mental health professionals if you think you might need it. And don't be afraid of telling it like it is. It's their job to listen and help you. Your problems are valid. Thanks for watching.